Right, I got it. It's on. I'm just going to walk it over there now. Thanks. I think we're good.
You can hear me, raise
Yeah, enjoy it. Okay, bye.
If you can hear me, raise your other hands, both of them, up in the air. All right, if you can hear me, let's wave back and forth. Get a little movement going here. And if you can hear me, take your seats, please.
There? No, just knock on it.
Sound, yeah, and that seemed to be working, like even close, so nobody would kick it.
Right, wherever it's going.
I think that's working.
You can sit here, I think. I think you can sit here. Okay, you can sit here. You have to go here. You can sit here.
Okay, I'm going to pass the mic over to Dan and Sally for the next hour or so. They're going to run the program and keep us moving along. And as you continue to come in and sit down, they're going to get us started. Good afternoon. There are three more things. There are three more things that we're planning to do this afternoon. The first one is a little ditty that Dan and I have prepared. The second activity is our 5-minute presentations. And to expedite those, we're going to start with group number 9 and go in reverse order. So you'll know where you are in the lineup. Group number 9 should be ready first. And then the third thing is to join with those who have prepared posters and papers and have some conversations with them. So those are the three activities left for this afternoon.
Okay, attention. This is going to take about 4 minutes. As you know, the founders created the idea of the Taos Institute 20 years ago in this beautiful little town of Taos. The Institute has grown in ways that the founders could never have specifically envisioned.
Throughout the world, there are currently well over 300 Taos associates and many others who are in working relationships with the Taos Institute, and these numbers are constantly rising.
The Taos Institute website presents the Taos Institute as a community of scholars and practitioners concerned with the social processes essential for the construction of reason, knowledge, and human value. That's a quote. We explore the possibilities available through the ideas and practices of social constructionism, striving to improve the world one conversation at a time.
The deliberate appreciation of a variety of voices creates a kaleidoscope of conversations that has the potential of enriching our collective lives.
At this time, encouraged by the local spiritual character Kokopelli, sometimes referred to as the trickster, we would like to show you our top 10 other lesser-known reasons why people choose to affiliate with the Taos Institute.
Ever sensitive to dominant discourses, our desire to challenge them has led us to subvert the imperialistic and colonizing tendencies of the decimal system and the number 10.
Therefore, we present the top 9 lesser-known reasons to be affiliated with the Taos Institute.
Reason number 9 for affiliating with the Taos Institute is...
For once and for all, clear up the frequent misunderstanding between the Tao and Taos. The 8th reason to be affiliated with the Taos Institute is...
As a virtual organization, we would all be avatars, right? Therefore, nothing would be required of me. The seventh reason to affiliate with the Taos Institute is...
In the off chance of meeting Ken's brother, David. The sixth reason to affiliate with Taos is...
to find out if Chagrin Falls, Ohio is a real place or just another clever social construction. Reason number 5 to affiliate with the Taos Institute.
To help build a better world by being the best social construction worker ever. The fourth reason to join the Taos Institute is...
The membership fees are so darn reasonable. The number 3 reason why persons would want to affiliate with the Taos Institute is...
The desire to hang out with the Taos founders, known in some circles as the Magnificent Seven. Reason number 2.
To engage fully in the 4 Ds. Drink, dance, dazzle, and dabble. Right, Dan? And the top reason to become associated with the Taos Institute is...
To escape reality.
We are not yet done. We conducted further rigorous research and found that the top reason for persons to come to the Taos 20 conference is...
To see the effects of positive aging.
in our own group. One more, Karen.
Thank you very much. So the stage is ready for group number 9 to do their presentation. And number 8, which is our group, be ready.
Congratulations. You got one more.
Can you guys go out?
Walk on the stage.
Come on, Dave.
Okay, we are Group 9, and our group, the title of our group was Seeking Resonance, in a dialogue about spirituality, interfaith relations, and constructionist ideas. Wow. And we had a very respectful and enlivening conversation. Lots of things emerged in our conversation. So the first part of our presentation is each of us is going to offer to you what is the one take-home that we received in our discussion, in our conversation.
What I take home is that I now believe at this very moment that no human life without belief is possible, and that the life-giving force comes from how we relate to each other, the otherness, and to ourselves. And since there is no self, we can start with our beliefs to relate to as something other within ourselves. And I believe that the divine can only be found there.
Mine was a question. When is spirituality a construction, and when is it a participation?
They've already changed it. What I learned was that for love, it's more important to be seen than to be understood.
and I'm taking the liberty of changing it back. We had a metaphor of our hand, reaching our hand out as a symbol of our religion. It's closed right now. I open it up now to present to you my spirituality. Spirituality is a snowflake, unique and pure at any present moment, changing as it floats and encounters other snowflakes, becoming stronger with each contact.
Wow.
Yeah.
Understanding is the booby prize.
Deep curiosity about my fears is a gateway to greater connection.
Wow.
My desire, objective goal is not understanding, but appreciation, and that's okay.
Wow.
Mine's quite similar. Doing interfaith work from a constructive perspective is less about understanding persons from different religious traditions and more about a deep appreciation for alterity.
And then finally, my takeaway, which was really an experience of this group, was that a mutual, respectful exploration of differing experiences, beliefs, and interests can be expansive and liberating. But the aim of which is not to yield greater understanding, but relationship.
And because of our metaphor, our metaphor was a physical action, turning from a closed fist to an open fist. We wanted you all to kind of experience that. So if you would, write down, or at least imagine, something you learned today, or a core orienting belief, or something that gives you direction. Right? And write it down and hold it out in your fist. No one's writing things down.
No.
Just hold it out in your fist.
And
think about it, Mary says. And then open it and present it to your neighbor and exchange those if you would.
It may be about a minute or two of silence to construct what you're taking away.
Okay, where's Dan? So we thought that some of the future directions for the conversation had to do with what are some core practices or key practices for engaging interfaith dialogue from a constructionist perspective. Where do we go in terms of shifting from just an epistemological perspective to an ontological perspective? There was one more. What was it? No one remembers. Keep an open mind. Okay, Dan, Sally.
All right, group number 8, come on up quick. Group 7, you're on deck.
On deck.
Vámonos.
I'm in the car like a magpie. I know. Next time you go. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we are group 8. The title of our group is Boundaries, Margins, and Edges. Oh my. Not to be confused with lions and tigers and bears. Okay, so we have a little performance here, totally unrehearsed, so be kind. We're going to do like a little simulation. So we want you to imagine you are at a meeting of the Institute of Positivist Science. Okay? And we've devised a little exercise, empirically based, in which we are going to try to identify the beliefs of some of the participants, some of our members at this meeting, to see how well they sort of conform to our major tenets. So, Sally, wherever you are, is going to take over the version.
Okay, group.
Oh, she has
If
her
you
own.
believe that all perspectives are valuable, back away from the center. If you believe that what we take to be real is generated through relational processes, take a step to the edge. If you believe that there is more than one truth, walk away from the center. Now I ask you, what can you see?
Each other's noses. That's what we see.
Thank you. Group 7. And group 7 is on deck. Come on! We don't need one of these!
Our title was on performance. What is the shape of performance, Alice asks.
Look at me, said Humpty Dumpty. I am round and rich. That, my dear, is performance.
Performance. Let go. Play. Bunny, 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 bunny. Experiment. Bunny, 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 bunny.
Performing through hybridity expands boundaries of collaboration.
It sounds so corny when you say it to people who weren't there, but I don't care.
Stay still at the calm center of a moving circle of stories.
And this is the person who is not here today, like she was here and then she's gone. Which is happening now towards open destiny.
Open destiny? Performative is making color. Meaning is made. Words are not just meaning loaded. They are made in meaning.
Performances are the blurred spaces.
Notice more. Use everything. And then do something. Bunny, 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 bunny.
Exhibit of our performance artwork back by the other door. So later on, be sure to check that out.
So to continue the conversation of performative, I am going to be handing out a form which asks the question, what is play? And it's optional to play with this form, so if you can take some time and fill it and drop it off where Mark sits with the media table, I would appreciate that. Thank you. And that's outside there. Thanks.
Okay, we welcome group 6 to group 5 on deck.
Este grupo fue un grupo bilingüe, así que voy a hacer una presentación corta en español. Abordamos el tema de Engage Conflict y luego de presentar en qué proyectos estamos involucrados en comunidades, en la parte final emergieron una serie de preguntas y temas muy interesantes que me gustaría invitar a mis colegas a presentar.
My question is, why are we engaging with conflict as opposed to managing conflict or resolving conflict?
I have the same question, but I think managing is about the past. Managing is about control. Managing is retrospective. But engaging is about the future. It's being with people. It's about touching them emotionally, working with their emotional capacity. And it's generative.
And it's about the dance. It's about dancing with conflict and not having it lead us. But can we lead conflict and dance with different rhythms, different contexts of dances?
Different partners? Different partners?
Different rhythms. Being a wallflower on the dance floor.
Who wasn't invited to even come to the dance?
But how do you learn new steps?
I have to be invited though first.
I invite you to talk about your experience.
Will you listen? How do I know? What questions will you be asking me?
The first question is always the most important. The first question is always the most important in managing conflict.
What are the preferred ways of being with conflict and engaging with conflict?
Thank you. We welcome group 5 with group 4 on deck.
So somehow we had strict instructions to settle on one representative from the group, and I suspect we are using a very non-European map because I'm seeing a lot of group participation with the presentation out to the larger whole. So we also have more than one presenter. So the topic of our theme group was therapy as a collaborative practice. Immediately we disbanded with the idea of therapy, and we realized that all of us were engaged in collaborative practices across a lot of disciplinary contexts, including academic and various practitioner contexts. Our group was comprised of 7 members, and by the end of this presentation, maybe you will have thought of something that we haven't covered, and you might want to stand up from your seat and add another comment. We noticed, too, that the conversation that we had in our group was not the conversation that we planned to have or designed to have. I guess that's characteristic of conversation. As Gadamer would say, a conversation has a spirit and a life of its own. And so we thought initially that we might want to talk a lot together about collaborative practice in the context of the pressure to work with diagnosis and a lot of assumptions about illness and so on. But we ended up having really quite a fun conversation about collaborative writing practices.
So it was wonderful to see the facilitators embody a collaborative practice in the way they facilitated, because they just rolled with where the conversation was rolling toward, and everyone felt comfortable to speak up. And collaborative writing practices emerged as just one of the topics. So I want to just throw out a couple of the useful bits that came out of that in case it's maybe useful for you. There was a therapist, Babette, who wrote her dissertation on using emailing after sessions for clients who had found it difficult to express themselves, but actually found it easier to email afterward. And then they would come back in the next session and want to talk about what they had written in the email. And they got rolling that way, and then eventually they stopped needing to email and were having an easy time talking. And so if that sounds interesting, find Babette. She wrote her whole dissertation on that. And then we started talking about a practice that I have found useful. This kind of came out of my combination of coaching practices with therapy, and where I'll have next to a client a clipboard with paper that doesn't have any lines on it, and then I have the same in my hand. And if at some point in the conversation they say something that I'm wondering if it might be useful to write that down to capture it, we each will be writing, and then it may lead to something else, and it becomes a writing with practice. So we're together writing things that are important, things they might want to experiment with after the session. Then I make a copy of their notes, and their notes become the primary notes from the session, and then we follow up on what worked out of that from the next session. So that ended up being one of their bit. But then what happened in the conversation that was really interesting to me is once we kind of had this extensive discussion about how writing could be useful, we then visited Jan's frame that was a completely different frame, that I found it really helpful to have a completely different perspective come out, because it was like, oh yeah, that helps so much to have another perspective. So she's going to articulate that.
Well, and I certainly didn't mean to offer my comment as any kind of model, but I realized that I didn't use writing in my work with the people that I meet with at all, only to make some small notes to jog my own memory later on. But I didn't like having a pen and paper when I met with people. I have such an extravagant appreciation for ordinary conversation. And I want my practice to, as much as possible, emulate the kinds of transformative and life-changing conversations that people have just by accident on their front steps, or in the back alley, or in a vehicle traveling somewhere, or at the bar. And in all those kinds of contexts, I can't imagine taking notes on the proceedings as a way of steering them or refining them. So it's just a preference for trusting the conversation and the relationship itself to lead us to discuss whatever it is that we need to discuss together. We also spoke quite a bit about how we plan well, I should say prepare to work collaboratively with people. And I found it so inspiring to listen to all the detail that people offered, how they set up their space, the kinds of attention that they give to ensure that a collaborative process is possible and let's say irresistible as well. It's very hard to sum up a conversation. It happens so quickly. It's ephemeral. It might sound like a cop-out to say you really have to be there. Perhaps our group members have things that they might want to add, or I don't know if you would like to add some comments and things that we missed. We certainly don't have a comprehensive report.
I think we're probably perfectly within our 5-minute limit. So thank you. We welcome group 4, group 3 on deck.
Okay, I think as the performers in position. So our group was number 4, and we were looking at collaborative relational practices in educational settings. And this is a performance entitled Dancing with Structure. And to narrate this piece, I'm dancing.
And I am structure. Structure is very important. We need rules.
I need space.
You must do it this way.
I want to be able to move with the motion and whatever's emerging.
No, you can't do that.
You're hemming me in.
We need evidence.
I want to be able to be free to move and pivot and go with the flow.
Without rules, we will have chaos.
I just want to be able to feel like we can go with the group and I can trust that it's going to go and take us where we need to go.
Listen to me. It goes this way.
I think I might have a renewed respect for some of the reasons we need structure.
Well, thank you. There is section 4, item 2.
Tell me more how you can work with me as a dancer.
Well, as long as you're willing to pay some attention to the fact that I'm here.
Well, I think begrudgingly I might step towards you.
I am kind of attracted to the opportunities that play outside the lines.
How great! What a great place to begin thinking together differently.
What happens if we combine the creative and the discipline?
What might we discover together?
I'm excited about this.
Me too.
Imagine music.
Yes. Thank you very much. Group 3? Group 2 on that?
All right, well, we are group 3, and we were talking about healthcare, particularly reconstructing the meaning of health and healthcare and the transformative power of dialogue in that. So I guess I can just frame it by saying that we had a very engaging conversation, and it sparked many great ideas and things that people are going to go forth and manifest in the world. And with that, we'll share some of those with you.
So on Monday, I'm going to quit using the word patience. And on Thursday, when I meet with all 50 directors of the state Medicaid offices and 300 of their staff to teach them statistical process control, as a very good improvement scientist would, I sought a consult from Kelly about a question that I could use. We came up with this, that I could ask these state Medicaid directors, what would their project look like, sound like, feel like, be like, if it unfolded in the very best way for the state and in the way that they intend. In the way of towers, we've decided that we can do this one conversation at a time, with the conversations that are within reach, the people that are in our homes, the people that are in our families, the people in our community, and that we've been lucky enough to work with inside the hospital. And so the thing I'm doing on Monday morning is supporting the people in the hospital and talking and thinking in the frames of social construction as they go about their work.
What I'm going to do on Tuesday morning, because Monday I'm flying very far away to British Columbia, is to talk to 2 policymakers that I know and to influence them with just some of my feelings and the conversations that we had in this group.
On Monday morning, I'm going to walk to my manager's office. I work within a medicalized health authority with adolescents involved in substance use. And I'm going to ask her about the possibilities of formulating some more relationships with community agencies so we can develop some day programming that gets kids out of hospitals and formalized treatment services into their communities with other ideas of health and belonging and inclusion.
On Monday afternoon, I'm going to meet with our corporate falls team, and I'm going to ask the question, how would you design a model of care that prevents patients' falls, that is sustainable and actually helps patients get stronger?
Tomorrow afternoon, Jeanette from Columbia, who's here somewhere, and I will facilitate part 2 of this conversation. And we'll be talking about how to carry these ideas forward and how to involve social construction ideas and the Taos Institute.
On Sunday night, I'm going to be submitting an innovation grant, which is about peer-to-peer health coaching and helping people develop different types of conversations about health. And tomorrow at 11:45, I'm going to be having a session on cultivating open innovation health enterprises and trying to develop scalable solutions. So if you have great ideas, this would be a great conduit to foster those ideas.
So as you can see, one collective conversation sparks many other conversations, and true to the tagline of Taos Institute, our approach is changing healthcare one conversation at a time, and each one of us is committing, and the rest of our group as well, to continue those conversations with the people that we work with when we go away from here. And as a follow-up, we are going to work with our friends with the Taos Institute website to develop a page where we can report back on what our action was and the follow-up, and hopefully continue that conversation more. So, thank you.
Stage. And group 1 is on
I think we've been set up. We were supposed to have David here and Buck from the Northern Forest, the Carson Forest. What we did was really an action project in taking a summit model, and we were put to work for the 20 minutes in actual work with Buck to help him design a summit. So I'll let Jim start, and of course I'll interrupt him. We are both originally from New York. We discovered that in our meeting together and our instant synergy.
Yes, thank you. So the name of our theme session was AI, Sustainable Design and Systemic Change. And so as Linda has said, David set the stage, kind of talking about the overviews of the basic design of a summit. And he presented some guidelines that might be used in the context of Buck's situation. When he was here to describe that, he came to the group and described his particular scenario. And Buck had to leave. I just want to make sure that he has actually left. He has left. Okay. Okay. So I will play the role of the client here. So David suggested 5 pieces. He said the basic structure, the infrastructure of a title, stakeholder mix, pre-summit momentum, resources to fund, and post-summit momentum as a basic structure for what might happen here or what could happen in this setting. So there were several groups. We broke into several groups, and so Linda and I are going to represent the outcomes of the 4 or 5 groups that were to pose and come back to Buck with some possible ways of starting this summit, the design of the summit. So here's our first, we posed this as a possible title for the summit, which was a result of lots of conversation, and David was stressing the importance of a title that set the stage for success. And David stressed the point that that title had to be focused, refined, because the success of that title or the effectiveness of that title would set the stage for the summit. So here is one of the titles we came up with. So the Carson Forest Northern New Mexico Collaborative invites you to This Land is Our Land, bringing together the collective community to develop a flourishing economy and ecology for everyone. So again, the intention of the titles here was to take Buck's concern about the multiple stakeholders around preserving the integrity, sustainability of the Carson Forest.
Can I just add something there? In coming up with that sort of this land is our land theme, it really arose from Buck's explanation of what he was facing as the fact that many stakeholders in the community were bickering and had conflict over who owned the land, whose land it was, and for what purpose was the land. And so what came to my mind through that discourse and his explanation of what he was facing was the song, This Land Is Our Land. And so that unifying purpose and theme that this is our land. And so we wanted that we-ness and inclusivity to be part of the topic that we were going to explore and to present to him.
And a few other groups came up with this. The trees hold the rings of our collective history. Only together can we ignite the fire of hope for our forest. And another group came up with, the future is now. Pride to be of the North. The North needs us. The North is not the final destination.
And one group came up to it with what I would say is a provocative, trying to read and hold at the same time, a provocative question. If we listen to the wind, what brave actions would we take? And so in using the metaphor of nature and in listening to inspire and provoke action, brave action, and this group went on to say, then they could say, if we listen to the water, what would we hear and what brave action would we take? And if we listen to the trees, what brave action would we take? And we thought that was beautiful. And they had many taglines that were fun, like, trees are us, Carson needs us. The trees, as Jim said, hold the rings of our history, magic, enchantment, children of the forest, and those kinds of things as this moved along to keep it flowing and to keep it including everyone and having everyone to have a brave action to take.
And just to summarize, it was really powerful to watch our client express his passion for his work. It was a very moving experience to see firsthand, to experience the process, and to see his extreme passion and his intensity around communicating. There was so much passion that the challenge to communicate effectively was just good to see, good to witness, and good to be a part of it.
I think just one last point that just comes to mind is there was a group that worked on the fact that all languages needed to be included into the AI Summit and to have representation of all languages and understanding and stakeholders, not only who's in the community, but so that people are making meaning through their own language. So that was also important to one group in particular.
Thank you.
And for our finale, group one.
Linda, good job.
We packed the largest number of people in the smallest room, and only two of us showed up at the party. Three. Always here. Good. We were lost without you.
No. I thought Ken and Paulson and Diana were going to sing.
They are going to sing later. Music later.
So group one was about organizational leadership from a constructionist standpoint. So we apparently the group decided that good leadership's about delegation because they delegated to the three of us. So most of them
decide, delegate, and disappear. So there's a lot of common models of leadership. We discussed that a little bit. What are our common models of leadership? How do we look at that? So I'm going to do a leadership exercise with you. I'd like you all to stand up for a second. 7th inning stretch. And if you've got a pen, I'd like you to pull your pen out. If you don't have a pen, figure a facsimile out and sort of point it toward the ceiling. If you want to use your finger, that's fine. And start making clockwise circles. And if you aren't sure about clockwise because we live in a digital age, cheat off your neighbor. Now what I'd like you to do is start lowering that down. lower it down, still turning clockwise, and now look down on it and tell me which way it's going. What's the only thing that changed?
Perspective.
Perspective, exactly. Now this sounds like a silly exercise, but I got to tell you, I was doing it on an airplane, telling this guy next to me what I did for a living, and I was doing this whole thing, and the flight attendant comes up and goes, sir, tell me, is there something I can do for you? And I said, no, I'm just telling this guy about this thing about perspective. And so I showed her what I was doing, and she goes, no kidding, that's stupid. 5 minutes later, she's up in the galley with the other flight attendant.
Have you seen this one?
Exactly. So perspective is important, right? Yeah. Oh, you can sit down now. Yes. Please sit. So.
No, that's fine. Keep going.
Keep going.
Yes, I'm just.
We didn't rehearse this. This is completely ad lib. We're a falling star.
It's construction.
We're constructing as we go.
Yeah.
Sure. So let's see, some of the things we talked about. Our question was around how would you design leadership development from a social constructionist perspective, and then how might you assess people in that? The first thing we talked about is maybe it's a move from a focus on leaders as individuals to the concept of leadership, the verb or the actions involved in what we do. So in other words, not just looking at individuals, but the collective as the unit of inquiry. We talked about complex systems a little bit and said that you can't control a system, you can only participate in that system. So we have to move from this concept of the leader being the person who's ultimately in control to just someone who's participating in the system, which calls to mind the question, how do I participate in the system in the most effective way? What are the enabling actions I can take, such as building relationship or communication or improving information flows through conversation, shifting the dialogue with questions, so that leadership becomes defined as adapting the ends and the means and moving us in the direction that we've decided to go. So developing people for that kind of leadership means improving their capacity to participate in those complex systems. So maybe one way to do it is pull people into collectives and have them deal with tough problems or tough situations over and over again until they get better at participating in systems. And then in terms of assessing people, it looks like we need to learn to assess at the collective level rather than the individual level.
Thanks, Alan. So we picked up with that kind of thinking, and we started thinking about frequency and how we develop frequency in this, and expertise developed through frequency. Well, I was a pilot, flew C-130s. It's a large crew airplane with a wall between me and half the crew. So communications is kind of a challenge, right? But we started recognizing that pilots have to do this rather quickly and have to do this repeatedly, over and over again, build these kinds of crew dynamics really, really quick and the types of communications really quick. How do you do that in an organization that has distributed leadership like mine? I work for the Forest Service. We've got distributed leadership. So what's a leader in the Forest Service? It could be a wildlife biologist operating independently, doing an owl survey in the middle of nowhere. That's the leader of that survey. So it's distributed leadership. The other thing we had to kind of take a look at was the concept, the language that we looked around this thing about in our organization of fire management, fire and aviation management. And what do we do with fire? The operative word here is control. So we're kind of following in a footstep of a language that's taking us down a path that's kind of destructive. So we started thinking about how we might upset that myth a little bit. And where we went was creating a dialogue around principles of leadership. So in other words, enjoining these leaders who are in this program to dialogue about principles and come to an agreement of what they believe the principles of leadership might be, and how that might lead to agreements, and how that might lead to an understanding that leadership is a privilege to enjoy the workforce, to develop relationships, to understand the importance of diversity with respect to its role with regard to resilience. And I'd like to stop with a quote from Gifford Pinchot, the person who started the Forest Service, who said, conservation is the conservation is common sense for the common good.
Very good. Goes on. Okay, so we broke up in 3 groups, and our group kind of had this question, which is, given a constructionist orientation to leadership, what kind of practices might constitute an ideal? So we had a rather interesting conversation, and we got into depth into some of the themes and topics that excited us. And I was left with the task of summarizing it after taking extensive notes or not. But all of you who are consultants here, okay, so you know how we operate from a position of power. After you take all the notes together, you get to make up what they said. Right? Okay, but I validated this, most of it. All right. So what kind of practices might constitute an ideal to leadership? The first practice we talked about was the use of multiple voices to build environmental and contextual awareness and understandings. Okay, so part of what a key task of leadership in this context is to understand the environment in which the organization or team operates. The second task is to foster relational accountability that acknowledges and is inclusive of differences. The third one was to engage in conversations and relationships to embody values that are important to the work community, such as collaboration, a sense of trust, meaning, belongingness, and importance. And the fourth was the awareness and enactment of shared and agreed meaning practices that includes the representing and floating of metaphors that are relevant to the organizational culture. And that's it.
Thank you very much. How about a round of applause for all of us?
All right, that was great. Thank you so much for, I don't know if this is loud enough. Thank you so much for being a part of the day, a part of all the conversations. And we had a really full day. I mean, if we think back to the morning with Mary and David and Harleen starting us off, and then 2 rounds of dialogues in the morning, conversation, rich conversation over lunch, and then the 2-hour conversations this afternoon, and really working on something that was meaningful for you, that really mattered. Turn to the person sitting next to you and think about the entire day all together, and share with that person a highlight for you, or an aha moment, or something that really stands out for you as something that touched you, something that made you more aware of something else. Just share that with the person sitting next to you for a couple minutes. Okay? A highlight from today.
presentations were so on time. I just want to congratulate you all for being so on time with your presentations. Thank you for that. And I would like to just invite you, and Sally can run with the microphone, if you would like to share just a short sentence or two about a highlight that you had today, something that just really stands out for you as a special moment. Anybody want to do that from your little brief conversations here?
Let's go up to somebody.
Mary's poem this morning.
Yes.
Great. Other highlights. Karsten, you want a microphone? You can run it back to him. Here, Maria first.
We were talking about sustainability, and we had a kind of a practical case to work on, Tao's thing with bug. And we were 30 people in the room, and like in 5 minutes everybody was working together and trying to find the best way to help Buck with his summit. So my high point is how altruism is powerful.
Good. Other highlights. Karsten, did you want to?
Yeah, I don't have one highlight specifically, but I kind of got a highlight across all the groups, and that's just a wonderful sense of camaraderie. It's so nice to come and talk about these ideas and have put forth an idea and then have that idea snowball, bounce around the room, expand. And it makes talking about things wonderful, and it makes conversational risk-taking happen. I find myself taking more conversational risks here than I normally would, really, because there's a sense of safety. So it's just wonderful. It's my first time here, and it's a great group to be part of.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Other highlights?
Yes, I think one for me was in the last group, it's actually Maury standing over there, having a comment. And he says now because we were into an engaging conversation about leading or a leader or an organization organizing. So why is it that we keep talking about social constructionism and not social constructing? And I think for me that's really put a lot of things in perspective, because I think that's what we're doing here. We're just having a conversation here about what would the highlight of the day. Well, we could sort of pinpoint it as a stream of an enormous amount of inspiration from different conversations with others and with ourselves. So that process of being in a social relationship and constantly constructing new ideas, and I think that might be a move, because if we talk about social constructionism, often we end up, and I can relate to that in my teaching, defining it. Well, when it's maybe actually something on the move.
Thanks for highlighting.
Over here, Sally? Oh, 2, okay.
We talked about a sense of aliveness and connectedness all over the day. And this is my first time in Taos. I shared how fulfilling it is to be in a place where I feel that there is hope and a feeling that we can do things and that we can change things. And I feel that everywhere, and that we agree. No? That is very inspiring.
It's something that's really struck me as a celebration is that we're here celebrating sort of the tradition, in a way, of the Taos Institute. And so it's a community that's rich in the tradition of the founders and all who have followed, and so welcoming of a virtual community and asking questions of, how we can use the technologies and all of this for the conference, for Alumni Association that we'll work on creating, and
So I love that how easy and accepting the community is of maintaining, just being with the times.
Sometimes it's a little challenge, right? We're so untechy. So, and I think this will be our last one, and then I've got some announcements.
So one thing that I am amazed by and just really want to thank the founders and thank everyone who has a role in this is I've met so many first-timers here who, when I meet them, when I hear their comments, I just assume they've been here for a long time. And so it's just this magical quality of, I don't know, bringing new people in, and yet they don't feel like new people. They feel like they're included. So there's something really special that goes on here. And for me, it resonates with the wonderful term that came up in our last session of multiple voices. That's my takeaway. I mean, that my work is around inclusion, around race and class and all different kinds of things. And I feel like multiple voices just sums it up beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay, just a couple announcements and then the poster sessions. The rideshare board is outside. If you haven't visited that yet and you have a car and you want to help get people to the airport, if you are having a shuttle service already reserved, make sure you check in the office to make sure you got it the time that they have your correct time. We have a lost and found at the front tables. There's a couple scarves that have been found. So check that. I think somebody lost a bag, a book bag. I don't know if she found it. I found it. You found it, okay, okay. But anything else, if you find something laying around, send it to the front table, and that way people can come to the front table and find it. Check in tonight with the virtual conference if you have time to log in on your computer when you go back to your room. Check into the online conversation, see how that went today. Maybe post an idea or a thought or two, just to help yourself get engaged with the people from around the world that are wanting to be here but just couldn't be here in person, because they want to have these conversations with you too. So let's take some time to do that. Remember, Mark is at the social media table out in the hallway. And I would like the board members and the founders and the Associates Council to come up to the stage when we're done here. So for some pictures, because we need some pictures, although I don't know where David is. If he's not here, then we can't do it.
Sorry, Dawn, could you please repeat that?
Yeah. The founders and the board members and the associate council. So what we have here, and you can see how it's developed all day, are some poster sessions. We have 24 poster sessions or papers that people signed up to present. And we invite you to stay in this room. The bar is open. The drink tickets, I think, are blue tonight, the blue drink ticket. So after that, it's a cash bar. There's lemonade and iced tea. There's some sodas over there. They're going to be bringing food out in a few minutes. And that's just kind of an appetizer, because I know you all want to head to dinner after the poster sessions. We can't be in this room until 7, so we've got a little bit of time. They're not going to kick us out until 7. The restaurant here is a great restaurant. There's also a lot of restaurants in town. And also, when you come back later tonight, if you want to go to the bar and hang out with people in the bar, they love when we do that here. So enjoy the evening, and thank you so much for a great day. We're going to be here in the morning at 8:30 again. Back here at 8:30 for another wonderful full day. I got the